Okay, while we're talking planes, let's take a deep dive back to a really funny story of 2003. So I'd been at this business about 12 months, started October 2002, and this was October 2003. I'd been asked by the owner to fly to Young in his plane to talk to the owner of a new feed mill down there about feed supply to one of his businesses, or businesses he owned in partnership with two others, PIC Australia, or Pig Improvement Company, a pig genetic company. These days they call themselves the Three Aussie Farmers for some advertising purposes, and the whole box and dice of PIC and a number of other businesses comes under the umbrella of Sunpork Fresh Foods, based out of Brisbane, over there in Murarrie. Now, the business I worked for on the Darling Downs at the time had direct ownership of pigs, about 3,500 sows, as well as, 600,000 or 700,000 layer chickens at the time. So by direct ownership, I mean that we were actually feeding them. He sold the pigs in 2010 that we directly owned, but he actually increased his ownership with other purchases along the way. That farm concentrated then on laying chickens, and he and his two partners in control of, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 sows in Australia, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. So this PIC Australia, they also own PIC New Zealand. PIC Australia had, I think a couple of thousand sows in New South Wales, based down near a place called Wrongrong. So I'm not really sure why I got asked to go and do this. They had a general manager, CEO, that seemed to handle it pretty well, did good deals with multiple feed mills down there. Maybe it was just because I came from the commercial stock feed milling game, and it was presumed I knew something about these cost plus deals. I knew a fair bit about cost plus deals on cost arrangements, that you accepted some business as a feed mill and went broke quietly, making feed for not much margin. Anyway, so this day in October 2003, we set off in the boss's plane. So this plane was a single engine job. By the time I flew to Emerald almost 20 years later, he'd upgraded to a twin engine aeroplane. He supplied the pilot, that was a relative of his. We left base about 6:30am. The boss even bought us ham sandwiches for lunch. It took 4.5 hours to get to Young. I'd never met the pilot before. I was picked up at the airport by a guy that was one of the smoothest operators you could ever hope to meet. Had worked in the big meat chicken integration game, really good people person, but he could sell an unpolished turd to anyone. And now in his late 50s, early 60s, had all the teeth redone, magnificent big smiling face full of teeth, the gold rings, the gold necklace. Kind of reinventing himself as a younger man, but smooth as. Anyway, he picked me up, and he was good friends with the person that had built this new feed mill in Young that we were going to talk to. So off we went and talked a little business, had some lunch, didn't seem to achieve much. Had a bit of a look at the feed mill, and I thought that was a bit odd, didn't impress me too much. And I came to learn more about these feed mills over time, and I'd never built one. Operator sitting directly in front of switchboards, probably not the smartest thing you'll do. There's a bit of an explosion in a switchboard. You won't be looking for people, you'll be looking for base DNA. Didn't excite me that much, the mill itself. Mr. Smooth takes me back to the plane at the Young airport. We prepared to leave. I thought the arrangement was that we were to fuel up in Young, and the pilot had told me that he had cash from the boss and a credit card, because he didn't know what facilities were at Young, but it was a cash facility. So he said, "Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to flip over to Dubbo, use the credit card, keep the cash for myself." I hadn't been there long enough to be involved in such controversies, so whatever. You do what you need to do. So off we went to Dubbo. That wasn't a very long flight. Of course, talking to him on the way down, I learned he was studying for his commercial pilot's licence, and that he got airsick. Interesting combination of factor there. So we sailed into Dubbo, headed over to the Bowsers, filled her up, parked her up, and went into the cafe, and he had 2 blueberry muffins and a red Powerade or Gatorade and an orange Powerade or Gatorade. Pretty important fact that for later on, as we get to later on. And it was getting a bit late, we were starting to run out of day, and I didn't think it was common practice to be flying these things in the dark. So we headed back out to the plane and got set to take off, all the protocols, whatever you got to do as a pilot. We wouldn't have got 100 feet in the air, maybe a bit more, I don't know, but we weren't very far up. And I looked to my right, and he's just sweating profusely, had gone a blue-grey colour, and is leaning back in the seat with his eyes closed. And I thought, oh, hello, we're in a bit of trouble here. And the plane was starting to flip to the side. I don't know if that's called listing or listings to do with ships. But anyway, I knew that if we had one wing up, one wing down, we were kind of fucked. So I gave him a bit of a shake and a hooey, and he woke up and he was just shivering, shaking, sweating. But anyway, we got the plane back on an even keel and away we went. For the next 3-4 hours, however long it took, or just before, maybe half an hour before we landed, he spewed and spewed. And fortunately, he'd bought a significant amount of spew bags. For some reason, I don't remember the smell. I'm not generally too good around the smells of spew, but the smell didn't affect me at this time as we were flying back. We had to dodge a storm, fly around a storm, so that took a little bit of time. It was amazing how quickly he came good as we started to drop to come into landing at base. But he said to me, I'm just going to fly around over the company builder's house and I'll drop a couple of spew bags on his roof. And I'm, righto, you just do what you got to do. So as we were approaching the builder's house, he'd put all these spew bags between the seats. He reached down to pull out a couple of these spew bags and it's caught on something and exploded in a Technicolor mess all over me, my white shirt, all through the cockpit, all over him. And then the smell hit me. So his first reaction is to drop the spew bags. One fell in my lap and start wiping my shirt. And we've got all this, whatever colour it turned into, but he had plenty of liquid on board and plenty of gear on board, just being wiped all over my shirt. He quickly realised that that probably wasn't working that well. He was profusely apologetic. I said, well, let's just get this bird on the deck and we'll move ahead from there. I said, no real damage done. So we landed back at base and it had been a hot day in October. Hot enough for the tarmac to have melted. Of course, he's busily panicking, trying to clean out the plane, so the boss didn't get to know what happened. There's spew everywhere inside the windscreen controls, and he's in and out, and he's picked up quite a bit of this melted tarmac on his boots. And of course, on the pilot's seat is a huge, very expensive looking custom made sheepskin cover. So not only has he got spew all over it, he's now adding some bitumen off the bottom of his boots as he's attempting to clean the inside of the plane to a satisfactory standard. Anyway, it was about 6:30 and I stripped off from my jocks, threw the spew covered stuff in the back of the ute, but I had to get some fuel. And at the time I was driving a ute running on unleaded petrol, and the unleaded petrol was at the office. 6:30, I didn't think it was a problem. Thought everyone would have gone home, so down to the office I go, and lo and behold, who's in the office? The boss. And I thought, well, interesting here, because he comes out and he said, well, what the fuck's going on? I could only but tell him the truth, because I assumed he was going to find out in any case as we move forward. And he was horrified. It was later to be found out that his wife was horrified, and I said, mate, well, nobody's damaged. Just spew. You've seen me half naked. No damage done. I'm sure there would have been some stern words with the pilot, who of course was a relation. I went home and didn't think about it too much more. About a month later, and I guess it coincided with the credit card bill coming in, he came into the big open plan office that we were in and approached the lady that did the wages and handled all those money things and said, now, I gave the pilot credit card and cash. I've got the credit card bill here and I didn't get the cash back. Can you follow up with that, please? Get my cash back. I thought, wow, he's old mate. He's getting both ends of the stick right up the orifice in enema style. Thought he was going to get away with a bit of cash. Probably got ripped apart for the smell, the bitumen, the whole box and dice in the plane. And going to have to give the cash back in any case. Just goes to show some of these wise people are very difficult to put one over. Very difficult to put one over. So that was a very funny day, and we've talked about it, or we talked about it a lot over the years. I don't hold any grudges. It was quite funny. If I was a party goer, I'd tell that story at almost every party I went to. So I've told the unabridged, pretty much straight up version. There's a fair bit you could emboss to make it a little bit better, a little bit funnier, a little bit more disgusting. So yeah, it wasn't all super serious stuff. Still not sure why I went to Young, not sure whether there was a deal done between PIC Australia and that feed mill, but a most interesting day.